to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga Hari Hari Bol. First, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirbhishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 We're reading from Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter, I think it's 3. The Lord's travel, begins his travel on his way to Jagannath Puri. Text 7.
প্রভু কহে সাধু এই ভিক্ষুর বচন মুকুন্দ সেবন ব্রত কইল নির্ধারণ.
Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu approved the purport of this verse on account of the determination of the mendicant devotee to engage in the service of Lord Mukunda. He gave his approval of this verse, indicating that it was very good. Next day.
পরাত্ম নিষ্ঠা মাত্র বেশ ধারণ মুকুন্দ সেবায় হয় সংসার তারণ.
The real purpose of accepting sannyas is to dedicate oneself to the service of Mukunda. By serving Mukunda, one can actually be liberated from the bondage of material existence. Purport. In this connection, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the sannyas order and recommended the determination of the Avantipur Bhikkhu to engage in the service of Mukunda. He accepted the Brahmana's version due to his determination to serve Mukunda. The sannyasi dress is actually an attraction for material formality. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu did not like such formality, but he wanted the essence of it, service to Mukunda. Such determination in any condition is paratma nishtha. That is required. The conclusion is that the sannyas order depends not on the dress, but the determination to serve Mukunda. Om Ajnana Timidandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtang Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Shayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadati Sha Pandantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Before speaking, I'd like to ask the permission and blessings of all devotees, and particularly those who are senior by age and or advancement in Krishna consciousness. Thank you. So this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's giving importance to the verse by the Avantipur Brahmin that he chanted upon taking sannyas when he began his trip outside of Navadvip, he was thinking he was on his way to Vrindavan. So the point made by Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur here is that the real meaning of sannyas isn't the dress, but is the dedication of one's body, mind, and words to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mukunda. This is consistent with Lord Krishna's instructions in Bhagavad Gita as well. In the first verse of the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, you perhaps know that verse, a famous verse. Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti ya sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriya. Means that person who's unattached to the fruits of their work and works as they're obligated. Means in the service of the Supreme Lord, Mukunda. That person, sannyasi cha yogi, that is a yogi, that is a sannyasi, not just someone who might not light a fire or follow some of the formalities of sannyas ashram. Of course, Lord Chaitanya did adopt the dress of the sannyas ashram. He wasn't walking around in pants and coat, but he had the bahirvas. But at the same time, mentioned here, the most important part of the sannyasi behavior is an attitude, is dedication and determination to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada would often say when someone approached him for sannyas of brahmacharis, he would say, well, you're already as good as sannyasi because you're dedicating your life to service of Mukunda. So there's really no difference or no need. You follow. Although sometimes he would award the sannyas ashram for them. And this is particularly important or particularly interesting in this context because Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who we just observed his appearance anniversary a couple of days ago, in his line, he had several sons. One of his sons was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who became the elevated and most erudite scholar on Vaishnava philosophy in the 20th century. Started founding the Gaudiya Math. He had another son named Lalit Prasad. And Lalit Prasad was a younger brother, but they had a difference of opinion, the two brothers. And Lalit Prasad, citing his father's not having formally taken sannyas, that sannyas is not something that should be followed in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, in the followers by the followers of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Maybe you didn't know that. Even to this day, there are his followers that will say that. But although the formality is not the important part, but sannyas, Lord Chaitanya took sannyas. Many of his intimate followers also. Swarup Damodar Goswami, Prabodhananda Saraswati, many of them also were sannyasis. So, although the formal dress is not required by everybody, still, sannyas, the essence of sannyas was accepted by Lord Chaitanya, as well as the dress, which was revived in the Gaudiya Math and continued in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Comments or questions or observations here?
Hare Krishna.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Kirtan Prabhu.
Jai Shri Prabhupada. Interestingly, this is a very deep subject matter, isn't it? I like very much the Krishna is really mentioning, what is the sannyas means is not the dress, but one who dedicates one's all his activities and everything in service of the Lord. That's sannyas. But this world is conditioned to external dress. So sometimes the dress may be needed for the sake of identification. Probably, I don't know. Here it says the sannyas dress is actually the attraction for the material formality. So I know I was last week again, a lot of discussions are happening in the past in ISKCON anyway, you already know. And I was going through Hridayananda Swami Maharaj, that podcast also about, Krishna, he was stressing more on dress. There's no need. While I understand that they no need, but at the same time, simultaneously, it will be needed, because just as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just for the material formality, so that those at least who have taken sannyas order of life, for them it may be needed, isn't it? Sannyas can be both both who are engaged in service. Either he is taken sannyas order of life or in grahastha life. But when one engages wants everything in the service of the Lord, so that's the sannyas. But when someone takes the sannyas order of life, isn't it for the at least to bring up social discipline, we should hear it. Just like Rupa Goswami says, niyamagraha, niyamagraha, niyamagraha. We cannot reject the rules and regulations for the sake of rejecting, or we cannot just focus on rules and regulation without forgetting the real purpose. So I wanted to hear what you think about. That's my understanding when I was hearing his podcast and like this.
Yeah. Although it's mentioned here that the dress is kind of a material formality, or it says some aspect of material attraction. Still, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the dress. And as you mentioned nicely, that he accepted the dress because people in general weren't properly recognizing his teachings. Some of his students criticized him and were angry at him for chanting the names of the gopis and Srimati Radharani instead of Krishna's names. And so they conspired against him, thinking, oh, we know more than him. So because people in general, although it's external, he's the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he adopted the sannyas dress for to encourage people to give respect, and in that way they'll be benefited. Srila Prabhupada also, when he was preaching, you've probably read some parts of the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. He was preaching in India, and he got a little bit of success, but not too much success. People were not recognizing his incredible, awesome spiritual talents and devotion. So at one point, his spiritual master came to him in a dream, well, more than one point, and said he was encouraging him to take sannyas, and Prabhupada was resisting. But then his godbrother, Keshav Maharaj, said to him, Bhaktivedanta Prabhu, in order to preach, you must take sannyas. So then he decided, yes, right away he took sannyas at that point. So that's agreed with you. Although one thing is, the most important thing of a sannyas is the dedication of body, mind, and words to the service of Krishna. Doesn't mean that other things aren't also important. One is most important. So someone might be in a sannyas dress. There are many people here and in India that have sannyas dress but don't engage in service to Mukunda, so that's ridiculous. But following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya, And Srila Prabhupada, sannyasis, it's best that they do wear that external dress most of the time. I mean, there might be some instances where they can't, but generally speaking, that's true. Oh, Acharya Prabhu is here. Haribol, I see your hand is up.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you. I'm definitely not going to get on my soapbox, but I'll just make one sort of generalized statement that the reasons that were valid for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to take sannyas, and even in Prabhupada's time to take sannyas in order to facilitate the preaching, are much less relevant today than they were even 100 years ago, especially in the face of worldwide preaching where sannyasi doesn't mean anything to most of the world. And we see even in ISKCON that household devotees who travel and preach vigorously, who are not sannyasis, get as much respect and as much attraction as a sannyasi. So I just wanted to throw that into the mix.
Yes. That of course those things, some of those things are a little debatable, and as you said, you're not going to get on a soapbox. We could have a good discussion about that sometime. There are different attitudes, but we follow the instructions of our spiritual master, and Srila Prabhupada also, when he gave sannyas, it wasn't that long ago, and preachers were there, in the West, many of them, and he gave them Danda and Bahirvas also. So yeah, we can discuss that, just debate that a little while.
Yeah, I don't know why we make, as ISKCON devotees will be able to understand these ideas of sannyas means the one who is actually engaged in service. But why we make such a controversial issue so big during
What's the controversial issue is what?
I mean, mostly I think Krishna West and Krishna East or whatever it is, like that. We don't have to make it's understood that, yeah, your devotion, your service is more important. Time, place, circumstances. Dress is not very much needed. Dress is an external only. But yet, because you have taken the sannyas order, we should respect the dress, for the worldly. That could have been really good understanding. I see the issues going on. It can lead to it can mislead people in general. As Acharya Prabhu also mentioned, yes, I think Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur literally formalized this process because there have been so much of misuse of Babaji, class. So now he formalized this sannyas order, and Prabhupada followed. So of course, sannyas order is a good contribution as well. But if some sannyas is not you impose on somebody, sannyas is that who wants to accept it. I think that's if someone wants to accept it, and we should not stop it as long as he is qualified. So today's day may not be need of a sannyas, but tomorrow it may be needed. Time keeps changing. Yesterday it was needed. If you say today is not needed, tomorrow it can be needed again. So these disciplines and protocols has to be strictly written it down and practiced, whatever it is. That's my point. Anyway, so yeah, because the exactly same subject came about the controversies going on, unnecessary controversies going on. So I thought I will pay some attention to it.
Yeah, it's an interest. It's a good discussion to have in New Vrindavan during the mid 80s to some part of the 90s. The devotees there were wearing monk's robes, brown, long monk's robes with cords around them. That was considered the thing to do. Anyway, and Srila Prabhupada also, you'll find letters where he writes to devotees who were living in the temple but going to work. He said, well, the dress isn't the most important thing, but at the same time, he encouraged people to wear devotional attire. Therefore, he said things like, we wear this because somebody who sees you, they'll remember Krishna and they'll ask you, just like a policeman has a uniform. So when you need some information or you need help in a certain way, oh, there's the policeman, you can go. I mean, people wear all kinds of things. You'll see in Philadelphia, people wear Eagles jackets, isn't it? Why, of course. Or they wear Budweiser T-shirts because they want to describe. They're declaring their allegiance to a certain team or a certain alcoholic beverage. So it's not, of course, not the most important thing, but it is there. It is important. And Bhava Grahi Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for taking my question. I'm going to play devil's advocate here, looking at the last sentence of the purport, where the determination is just to serve Mukunda. It's not the dress. So I'll play devil's advocate here and say if the main purpose is the feeling in the heart and just to always serve Krishna, then what's the point of not just sannyas, but even initiation?
Well, you're asking two questions now, because without making that vow to do certain things in the service of Mukunda, or service of Krishna and the spiritual master, most times people don't do it. If someone was incredibly serious in doing devotional service and didn't get initiation, well, would they make progress? Yes, but also people know that without serving a great soul or a pure devotee, one can't go back to Godhead. It's not possible. Mahat sevam dvaram ahur vimukte. So there might be some few exceptions to not getting initiated, but still the service to the devotee or the advanced devotee has to be done. Otherwise, it's not possible to go back to God. And that's what our Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upirikshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadashina. So just because the trend's not on the dress, but doesn't mean the dress is irrelevant completely. No. Anyway, somebody else may have some statement about that.
Thank you, Prabhu. Like I said, I was just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah,
That's
I
all.
know.
Thank you.
I got that point. And it's interesting in the Caitanya Caritamrita, there's a verse where it says that the advancement of a person in spiritual life is simply related to chanting the holy names, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and it's not dependent on other things like initiation, austerities, blah, blah, blah. So, and interestingly, in the purport, which was quoted from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the whole purport describes how the necessity of being initiated for progress in spiritual life. Isn't that interesting? So, anyway, so there might be some exceptions, but generally speaking, that's the case for most people. Yeah. So I prefer to wear a dhoti than Eagles jacket. Okay.
Thank you.
সেই বেশ কইল এবে বৃন্দাবন গিয়া কৃষ্ণ নিষেবন করি নিভৃতে বসিয়া.
After accepting the sannyas order, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu decided to go to Vrindavan and engage himself wholly and solely in the service of Mukunda in a solitary place.
এত বলি চলে প্রভু প্রেম উন্মাদের চিহ্ন দিক বিদিক জ্ঞান নাহি কিবা রাত্রি দিন.
As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was en route to Vrindavan, all the ecstatic symptoms became manifest. and he did not know in which direction he was going, nor did he know whether it was day or night.
নিত্যানন্দ, আচার্য রত্ন, মুকুন্দ তিনজন প্রভু পাছে পাছে তিনে করেন গমন।
When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went toward Vrindavan, Nityananda Prabhu, Chandrasekhar, and Prabhu Mukunda followed him. These three devotees were there at his sannyas initiation. Nityananda Prabhu, Prabhu Mukunda, and Chandrasekhar. There's two Chandrasekhars. This Chandrasekhar is his maternal uncle. He had his house right by Jagannath Mishra's house in Mayapur. The other is a different Chandrasekhar who's will meet in Benares.
যেই যেই প্রভু দেখে সেই সেই লোক প্রেমাবেশে হরি বলে খণ্ডে দুঃখ শোক।
When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed through Radha Desh, whoever saw him in ecstasy exclaimed, Hari, Hari. As they chanted this with the Lord, all the unhappiness of material existence diminished.
গোপ বালক সব প্রভুকে দেখিয়া হরি হরি বলি ডাকে উচ্চ করিয়া।
All the cowherd boys who saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passing joined with him and began to shout loudly, Hari, Hari.
শুনি তা সবার নিকট গেলা গৌর হরি বলো বলো বলে সবারে শিরে হস্ত ধরি।
When he heard all the cowherd boys also chanting Hari Hari, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased. He approached them, put his hand on their heads and said, go on chanting like that. So putting the hand on the head is, do you call that Ashirvad like?
Yes.
Okay. Blessings.
তা সবার স্তুতি করে তোমরা ভাগ্যবান কৃতার্থ করিলে মোরে শুনায়া হরি নাম।
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thus blessed them all, saying that they were all fortunate. In this way, he praised them, and he felt very successful because they chanted the holy name of Lord Hari.
গুপ্তে তা সবাকে আনি ঠাকুর নিত্যানন্দ শিখাইল সবাকারে করিয়া প্রবন্ধ।
Calling all the boys in confidence and telling a reasonable story, Nityananda Prabhu instructed them as follows.
বৃন্দাবন পথ প্রভু পুছেন তোমারে গঙ্গা তীর পথ তবে দেখাইও তারে।
If Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asks you about the path to Vrindavan, please show him the path on the bank of the Ganges instead.
তবে প্রভু পুছিলেন শুনো শিশুগণ কহ দেখি কোন পথে যাব বৃন্দাবন। শিশু সব গঙ্গাতীর পথ দেখাইল সেই পথে আবেশে প্রভু গমন করিল।
When the cowherd boys were questioned by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the path to Vrindavan, the boys showed him the path on the bank of the Ganges, and the Lord went that way in ecstasy.
আচার্য রত্নেরে কহে নিত্যানন্দ গোসাই শীঘ্র যাহ তুমি অদ্বৈত আচার্যের ঠাঁই।
As the Lord proceeded along the bank of the Ganges, Sri Nityananda Prabhu requested Acharya Ratna, Chandrasekhar Acharya, to go immediately to the house of Advaitacharya.
প্রভু লয়ে যাব আমি তাহার মন্দিরে সাবধানে রহেন যেন নৌকা লয়া তীরে।
Sri Nityananda Goswami told him, I shall take Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the bank of the Ganges at Shantipur, and Advaitacharya should carefully stay there on shore with a boat. One thing to note, see that word in the Bengali, shabdhane, shabdhane. That word is there in the when we chant Sri Guru Charana Padra, Sri Guru Kevala Bando Mui Shabdhan Sabdhan Mati. So here it's described or translated very carefully. So in that prayer by Narottam Das Thakur, it's sometimes translated with great awe and reverence, but still same idea, carefully along the bank. Okay.
তবে নবদ্বীপে তুমি করিহ গমন শচী সহ লয়া আইস সব ভক্তগণ.
After that, Nityananda Prabhu continued, I shall go to Advaita Acharya's house, and you should go to Navadvip and return with Mother Sachi and all the other devotees.
তারে পাঠাইয়া নিত্যানন্দ মহাশয় মহাপ্রভুর আগে আসি দিল পরিচয়.
After sending Acharya Ratna to the house of Advaita Acharya, Sri Nityananda Prabhu went before Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and gave notice of his coming.
প্রভু কহে শ্রীপাদ তোমার কোথাকে গমন শ্রীপাদ কহে তোমার সঙ্গে যাব বৃন্দাবন.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in ecstasy and he asked where Nityananda Prabhu was going. Nityananda replied that he was going with him toward Vrindavan. See the word Shripad is translated Sir, Shripad. This an interesting address to a respected person, Shripad.
প্রভু কহে কত দূরে আছে বৃন্দাবন তেহ কহেন করো এই যমুনা দর্শন.
When the Lord asked Nityananda Prabhu how far it was to Vrindavan, Nityananda replied, just see, here's the river Jamuna.
এত বলি আনিল তারে গঙ্গা সন্নিধানে আবেশে প্রভুর হইল গঙ্গারে যমুনা জ্ঞানে.
Saying this, Nityananda Prabhu took Chaitanya Mahaprabhu near the Ganges, and the Lord, in his ecstasy, accepted the river Ganges as the river Jamuna.
অহোভাগ্য যমুনারে পাইলুম দর্শন এত বলি যমুনার করেন স্তবন.
The Lord said, oh, what good fortune! Now I have seen the river Jamuna. Thus, thinking the Ganges to be the river Jamuna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to offer prayers to it. It's the Sanskrit, right? Chidananda Bhano Shradananda Shuno Paraprema Patri Drava Brahma Gatri Aghanam Lavitri Jagat Shema Dhatri Pavitri Kriyano Vapur Mitra Putri. O river Jamuna, you are the blissful spiritual water that gives love to the son of Nanda Maharaj. You are the same as the water of the spiritual world, for you can vanquish all our offenses and the sinful reactions incurred in life. You are the creator of all auspicious things for the world. O daughter of the sun god, kindly purify us by your pious activities. Purport. This verse is recorded in the Chaitanya Chandrodaya Natak by 513 by Kavi Karnapur. So if you happen to go to Vrindavan and come to the river Jamuna, you might like to offer this prayer to Jamuna Mai.
এত বলি নমস্করি কইল গঙ্গা স্নান এক কৌপিন নাহি দ্বিতীয় পরিধান.
After reciting this mantra, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered obeisances and took his bath in the Ganges. At that time, he had only one piece of underwear, for there was no second garment.
হেনকালে আচার্য গোসাই নৌকাতে চড়িয়া আইল নূতন কৌপিন বহির্বাস লয়া।
While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was standing there without a second garment, Sri Advaita Acharya arrived in a boat, bringing with him new underwear and external garments.
আগে আচার্য আসি রহিলা নমস্কার করি, আচার্য দেখি বলে প্রভু মনে সংশয় করি।
When Advaita Acharya arrived, he stood before the Lord and offered his obeisances. After seeing him, the Lord began to wonder about the entire situation.
তুমি তো আচার্য গোসাই, এথা কেনে আইলা, আমি বৃন্দাবনে, তুমি কে মতে জানিলা।
Still in his ecstasy, the Lord asked Advaita Acharya, "Why did you come here? How did you know that I was in Vrindavan?"
আচার্য কহে, তুমি যাহা সেই বৃন্দাবন, মোর ভাগ্যে গঙ্গা তীরে তোমার আগমন।
Advaita Acharya disclosed the whole situation, telling Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, "Wherever you are, that is Vrindavan. Now it is my great fortune that you have come to the bank of the Ganges."
প্রভু কহে, নিত্যানন্দ আমারে বঞ্চিলা, গঙ্গাকে আনিয়া মোরে যমুনা কহিলা।
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, "Nityananda has cheated me. He has brought me to the bank of the Ganges and told me that it was the Jamuna."
আচার্য কহে, মিথ্যা নহে শ্রীপাদ বচন, যমুনাতে স্নান তুমি করিলা এখন।
When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accused Nityananda of cheating him, Srila Advaita Acharya said, "Whatever Nityananda Prabhu has told you is not false. You have indeed just now taken your bath in the river Jamuna."
গঙ্গায় যমুনা বহে হয়া এক ধার, পশ্চিমে যমুনা বহে পূর্বে গঙ্গাধার।
Advaita Acharya then explained that at that spot, the Ganges and Jamuna flow together. On the western side was the Jamuna, and on the eastern side was the Ganges. Purport: the Ganges and Jamuna mix at the confluence at Allahabad, Prayag. The Jamuna flows from the western side and the Ganges from the eastern, and they merge. Since Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bathed on the western side, he actually took his bath in the river Jamuna. So this pastime here of Lord Chaitanya wandering in Radha Desh, and then coming to the bank of the Ganges and being misdirected. There's a few things here that are a little not clear to me. So if somebody could review the little details of this pastime, and then we'll discuss a little bit. Somebody could just summarize what happened here up till this point? Any volunteers?
I can say something.
Yeah. I thought you would Krishna Kirtan Prabhu.
Yeah, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, he proceeded towards Vrindavan, thinking he's proceeding Vrindavan. When he entered Radha Desh.
Radha Desh, not Radha. Radha.
Radha Desh.
Radha. Short day.
Radha Desh. He, on the way, he was misdirected as a pastime by Lord Nityananda, directing Lord Chaitanya to again Santipur, to Advaita Acharya's place. So that's where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in ecstasy, and he thought that's Vrindavan, and he took bath in river. And then he said, "Hey, how did you come here?" Advaita Acharya says, he made a good point also. Wherever you are, that's Vrindavan. And so then he understood that he was cheated by Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu says, Advaita Acharya says, no, that's right, because this is Vrindavan, this is Yamuna, and this is Ganga also, because the way it is flowing. So that way it's a philosophical explanation, but he was drawn by the love of the devotees. That's what I can say.
So, okay, thank you. Yeah, Mother, is that Mother Vindhyavali's your hand up, or that's just putting your hand on your head?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. They both at Triveni, they meet together, and then from there they will go separate.
The two rivers, huh?
Yeah, and then that's where they say Triveni. Saraswati goes underneath of that.
That's what they say, yes.
River Saraswati. So that's where pilgrim they take bath there. I also
yes,
there.
yes, a very, very auspicious bath.
That is very auspicious, and then
you might have taken bath there.
Yeah, I did there.
Yes.
And you can see the Saraswati underneath, it was flowing clearly, that water. That's surprising there. All the three rivers go.
Nice, nice. So question one would be, if Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we know from the Bhagavad Gita, Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjana bhavishyani chabhutani mam tu vedana kaschana. He says in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that's happened, past, present, and future. I also know all living entities. So if he knows everything, how is it that he didn't know whether he was going east or west?
Oh.
This is for pastime's sake.
Okay.
Playing a role of a devotee.
So he really wasn't in illusion. It's something like Krishna's headache. Krishna has a headache. If he wants to have a headache, he can have a headache. If he wants to seem like he's in illusion, he can be an illusion. It seems like that. But it's not the same kind of confusion that we get into in our lives quite often because of our, limited senses and making mistakes and all that. Yeah. So then, there's a path. Apparently, there's a path along the Ganges he was coming from Katwa, which is northwest of Navadvip, to Shantipur, which is along the Ganges, going towards Calcutta. And Shantipur, Advaita Acharya had two residences. One was at Shantipur and one was in Navadvip. So, and the Shantipur residence is on the eastern side of the Ganges. So Nityananda Prabhu requested Chandrasekhar Acharya to go inform Advaita Acharya to bring a boat, right? And come to the western side of the Ganges, stay on the western side. So how did he know what spot to go to? Nowadays you have cell phones and you can, but how did he know exactly what spot to go to? Because there's Ganges is a long, big road, big place. Or was Lord Chaitanya so? Anyway, Advaita Acharya was also Mahavishnu. He can know. So then, what did Lord Nityananda said? He was going to go. He was going to follow, or Chandrasekhar was supposed to go and tell Advaita Acharya, okay, bring your boat on the western side of the Ganges, and Nityananda. And then Chandrasekhar was going to go to Navadvip to inform all the devotees to come, but then Nityananda said he was going ahead, right? But did he actually go ahead? You follow my question?
Yeah.
It seems like he was there, or anyway. So if Chandrasekhar went there, he says, well, Lord Chaitanya is coming, but it seems like Lord Nityananda was going to go ahead and just say, okay, now it's time to come. Because so, and then Lord Chaitanya says, oh, where are you going? And he says, I'm just following you to Vrindavan. That's right, isn't it? So it's a little confusing for me there. And then Lord Chaitanya, he takes bath, and did he have a towel? We don't see that. And then he had a Bahirvas, there's Bahirvas is the external, and the Kopin is his underwear. So he took bath in his underwear, but he didn't have a second garment. So where was his Bahirvas? I don't know. But Nityananda Advaita Prabhu then gave him an external garment, right? So we know that Lord Chaitanya wasn't wearing a swimming suit or something like that, right?
One point about Nityananda Prabhu, when he probably had planned to go ahead, but maybe when he started to, go ahead, that's when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu questioned him. So he continued with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and said, "Oh, I'm going with you to the Vrindavan."
Yeah, something like that. But anyway, it's to get into the details is kind of fun. How did this happen? So they went to, and in sannyas order, there's 4 stages. The first stage is called Kutichak. Kutichak means the sannyasi goes outside the village and accepts prasadam from people of the village. That's called Kutichak. Then there's Bahudak. They start to travel a little bit, and they ask for alms from different people. Then Paribrajak Acharya means they travel widely, preaching everywhere. And Paramahansa is the highest stage where they're always absorbed in Krishna consciousness wherever they go. So anyway, in this case, Lord Chaitanya is taking bath there in the Ganges, and then he's being brought to Advaita Acharya's house and given alms for the first time after taking sannyas. And then all of the people from the village or the town where he was, Navadvip, they're coming. So it's a little bit like Kutichak, if that makes sense. You follow? Anyway, any other comments on this? So this is the first activity of Lord Chaitanya after taking sannyas, is right here. He's planning to go to Vrindavan right away, but gets directed to the house of Advaita Acharya. And all those people, all those devotees back in Navadvip, for whom he was the life and soul, they're coming to meet him. They're going to be coming to meet him. He left, but they'll get a chance to meet him for some time. Okay. Text 37.
পশ্চিম ধারে যমুনা বহে তাহা কইলে স্নান আর্দ্রে কৌপিন ছাড়ি শুষ্ক কর পরিধান.
Advaita Acharya then suggested that since Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had taken his bath in the river Jamuna and his underwear was now wet, the Lord should change his underwear for dry garments. Wearing wet clothes is not easy to walk around in. Yeah.
প্রেমাবেশে 3 দিন আছো উপবাস আজি মোর ঘরে ভিক্ষা চলো মোর বাস.
Advaita Acharya said, "You've been fasting continuously for 3 days in your ecstasy of love for Krishna. I therefore invite you to my home, where you may kindly take your alms. Come with me to my residence."
এক মুষ্টি অন্ন মুই করিয়াছ পাক সুখা রুখা ব্যঞ্জন কইলুম সুপ আর শাক.
Advaita Prabhu continued, "At my home, I have just cooked 1 palmful of rice. The vegetables are always very simple. There is no luxurious cooking, simply a little liquid vegetable and spinach." So the Bengali for liquid vegetable is soup. That's interesting. And then the shak. Okay.
এত বলি নৌকায় চড়াইয়া নিল নিজ ঘর পাদ প্রক্ষালন কইল আনন্দ অন্তর.
Saying this, Sri Advaita Acharya took the Lord into the boat and brought the Lord to his residence. There, Advaita Acharya washed the feet of the Lord and was consequently very happy within. So he went from the western side of the Ganges to the other side where his house is in Shantipur. Right? You can go there today; it's still there, the house, or maybe it's rebuilt, but the house of Advaita Acharya in Shantipur. And then Advaita Acharya washed the feet of the Lord, which is very interesting. Sometimes, in particularly when Lord Chaitanya was in the temple of Gundicha, he became unhappy when his feet were washed in the temple. But here Advaita Acharya is washing them outside the temple, and he was very happy with that.
I'm just thinking how blessed were those children to be a part of this Nityanand Prabhu's sort of tricking Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to
the cowherd boys.
the cat, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
প্রথমে পাক করিয়াছেন আচার্যাণী, বিষ্ণু সমর্পণ কইল আচার্য আপনি.
All the eatables were first offered by the wife of Advaita Acharya. Then Sri Advaita Acharya personally offered everything to Lord Vishnu. Purport. This is the ideal householder's life. The husband and wife live together, and the husband works very hard to secure paraphernalia for worshiping Lord Vishnu. The wife at home cooks a variety of foods for Lord Vishnu, and the husband offers it to the deity. After that, arati is performed, and the prasadam is distributed amongst family members and guests. According to the Vedic principles, there must always be a guest in a householder's house. In my childhood, I have actually seen my father receive not less than 4 guests every day. And in those days, my father's income was not very great. Nonetheless, there was no difficulty in offering prasadam to at least 4 guests every day. According to the Vedic principles, a householder before taking lunch should go outside and shout very loudly to see if there's anyone without food. In this way, he invites people to take prasadam. If someone comes, the householder offers him prasadam. And if there is not much left, he should offer his own portion to the guest. If no one responds to this call, the householder can accept his own lunch. Thus, the householder's life is also a kind of austerity. Because of this, the householder's life is called the Grihastha Ashram. Although a person may live with his wife and children happily in Krishna consciousness, he also observes the regulative principles followed in any temple. If there is no Krishna consciousness, the householder's abode is called a Grihamedhi's house. Householders in Krishna consciousness are actually Grihasthas, that is, those living in the ashram with their families and children. Sri Ajata Prabhu was an ideal Grihastha, and his house was the ideal Grihastha ashram. Any comments or questions about this one? Krishna Kirtan, you have a question, you have a comment, please.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. This is a very simple culture. We just have to embrace it, understand the importance of having Vaishnavas at home, and understanding the Grihastha's responsibility. They know as we begin the class, there's no difference between Grihastha and Sannyas. When one engaged in devotional service, everyone have their responsibilities. Grihasthas should not be selfish, just I, me, mine, and try to expand, one's facilities to enjoy. We have a broader responsibility to the society. Not be selfish. Distribute prasadam. Serve the renounced, serve the devotees who are renounced. They don't have. Even though they don't need it, it's our responsibility to make sure that their needs are fulfilled. This interesting culture has been made.
Thank you. Is there any way? I mean, nowadays probably if Mother Vindyavali went outside her house and announced, anybody want? People think she's a little odd at best. No? Is there any way that principle can be translated into current activities in this part of the world?
Yeah, always people need it. I think Philadelphia is already engaged in prasadam distribution. So it doesn't have to be only temple only has to do it. Each temple congregation is an extension of temple actually. Everyone's respect to distribute prasadam. Even though they are not poor, but they are poor for prasadam because they don't get prasadam, they may get food. So prasadam distribution, builds good relationship and connects them to Krishna. And it's the grahastha's responsibility to know what is within one's facility. We expand. It's not doesn't have to be only birthdays and anniversaries, invite devotees and feed them big program. No, day to day at work we take prasadam and give them. Next week, some of the colleagues are coming to my home to take prasadam. Poor is relative. Yeah, it's nowadays very hard. We cannot say that it's for poor people, but prasadam is for everybody. That's what I think at this time, place, and situation.
Anyone else like to say something?
It's just, I think where in this part of the world, it depends where you live. It's a little hard. Probably can be done, but it's a little hard, I think.
Yes. Prananath Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I haven't done it personally, but now that you asked, a thought came to my mind. I don't know how practical it is, but maybe instead of just going out and shouting out, maybe based on the current situation, driving around a bit for a few miles, might find somebody.
Yeah. I mean, there might be different ways to do it. Yeah. So, but the principle is there of giving, offering prasadam. I mean, nowadays people might do something on the internet, like at Facebook or one of those things. Just, you shout out that way. Or, there's practices. Each temple, usually there's distribution of prasadam on different days, especially on Sunday in this country.
But
Interesting. I looked at the letters that Srila Prabhupada wrote about establishing the prasadam distribution in Mayapur. It's one of the first things they built in Mayapur was a gigantic pavilion. And the pavilion was for the sole purpose of distributing prasadam to the locals. And every day they would open the doors and people would come, and there'd be hundreds and thousands of people, and they'd distribute khichdi every day. And Prabhupada, then in the letters when Prabhupada was talking, giving instructions on it, he said, actually, he would like that system in every temple. Oh, according to circumstances and ways, maybe. I mean, it was to a devotee in India, so perhaps it was more possible in India. But and of course, they have the midday meal program in different temples in India where they distribute prasadam to school children at lunch from, I think in Chopati and Ujjain and Juhu they do. Plus, an interesting point also is that if I can find the letter, I can send it. But Srila Prabhupada, about 1976, because I was in the kitchen, some of my service was there. Srila Prabhupada sent a letter to the temple saying that everybody, always there should be on hand prasadam for people who come. Always. And he said, it doesn't matter if you can't, you don't have enough money, Krishna will give you the money, but do it. And he wasn't talking about selling the prasadam. He was talking about giving the prasadam. It's so important. And if you read how Srila Prabhupada dealt with guests, sometimes he would always make sure they took prasadam before leaving, and he wasn't trying to collect money from them in that way. And then once in a while, somebody would leave without prasadam, and Srila Prabhupada would take a devotee and send a devotee to go catch the person to give them prasadam after they even left. So very, very, very important part of the practice of Krishna consciousness, and also consistent with the Vedic culture, the Vedic idea here. And of course, for Advaita Acharya, as an ideal householder, is getting the wonderful opportunity to offer all of this foodstuffs to Lord Chaitanya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then distribute that prasadam. So wonderful.
But one thing, Prabhu, in India, whatever we give, people will take it, and a lot of poor people are there. They take it. Here, the poor people are there, they stand at the signals and they say, need money for food, but they don't, I don't know what they do with the money.
Yeah,
But
they might use it for getting alcohol.
If we give prasadam. Lot of them. I used to give money first. I don't know. My friends said, no, you're working for food stamps and all. They know everything. They get everything. But they just take this money and they drink it.
Some may do that. Some may do that. It's true.
And then I tried the prasadam to our neighbor, bring it to our neighbor and give it to him. Once or twice I said, did you like that? He said, oh, I love that paneer sabji and everything. I love this your cooking, your Indian way of this thing. Then I bought second time also. I called him, he didn't come and get it. Then my daughter says, you better be careful. Some people, they don't, they think that, they are very scared to take some things from food stuff.
And from different cultures and different situations. It's a little tricky. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons that, there are different kind of activities that Srila Prabhupada encouraged. And one of them was prasadam restaurant.
Yeah.
I mean, people do other things, other businesses, but that was one of the businesses that was sanctioned by Srila Prabhupada. And in a restaurant, people it's more culturally acceptable to distribute prasadam in that way. People come, they order what they want, and they have to make a variety of different preparations. So that was one of the things that
if we go and give them, they suspect something, and they don't. Not many people they like it.
Yes.
So I tried both the neighbors I tried.
Yes. So in New York in the early time, we would make bundi ka laddu. We called them at the time lugloos. Bundi ka laddu. And we would distribute it we would wrap them up, and we distribute it on Sankirtan, and it was a sensation. It became quickly known by people all over New York City that they wanted. And we had to make thousands every time we went out for. So in certain circumstances, exactly how to do it has to be done in a thoughtful way. People will accept. I know, like people will accept something they recognize, whether they don't recognize it. For example, at the summer camp, not the one we did here, but what you did 1 year ago. Even the kids, we would make a very nice yogurt for the morning prasadam, but the kids wouldn't take it. They could, but so then we decided, so we got a donation of empty Dannon yogurt cups, plastic yogurt cups, and we put the yogurt in there, and then they loved it. Then they took it. So so we have to use our brains a little bit. Given the situations and given the cultural implications, how we can deliver the prasadam, and sometimes you need to do a little trial and error, and how other people have done it, is important to know. But there's different ways to do it, and we can brainstorm on that. But the principle is the principle of distributing prasadam somehow or other. People will take a cookie, right? If a cookie might, because it's very common.
Yeah, cookies daily. Muffins, cookies.
That cookie prasadam, cookies. And in Puerto Rico, where they have a little bit of different way of taking prasadam. We made the dry fruit laddus, with dates and. Oh my God, people came from everywhere. They wanted to get more and more of those, which, was just a little ball.
Yeah.
But they were familiar with dates and just dry fruit. Okay. But it was nicely done, offered to Krishna. So people were give me 2 or 3, 4 or 5. Give me more. Okay.
Indian culture, we just give and we call them, and a lot of people, they come and take it.
Yeah,
That is there. They don't mind. They
Yeah,
want
it's easier.
food, they take it. They
Yes.
believe that we cooked nicely and they take it.
Yes.
Here they suspect a lot. So
Yeah, sure.
I saw that and I said it's very difficult for them. For us
There's a propaganda that, kids go door to door on Halloween, which is coming up next month.
Mhm.
Right? And apparently a few kids were poisoned by the food they get.
See?
Actually, the real story is that the poison was not from the people that gave it, but for their own parents. They had, if you look at really what happened, but that idea infected the people, and now people, they don't go door to door and get candy so much.
Parents go with them.
Yeah, their parents will go with them, and sometimes they just have a little party themselves where they exchange the little they know everybody, so they know nobody's going to spike it with something,
Mhm.
put a razor blade in an apple or something.
That's true. That's what it is.
So yeah, given the time and circumstances, how we can use our brains to distribute Krishna's prasadam here in the way not at least similar to, but not exactly the same as Advaita Acharya did with Lord Chaitanya. Okay. Oh, we talked a lot. Thank you so much. Oh, then now what's going to happen is they're going to describe all of Lord Advaita Acharya's, the offering to Lord Chaitanya. So that's something to stay tuned for, I think. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyo patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Namo Namah. Hare
Thank you, Vishnugada Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.